back, YouTube. K-Road17 here with a brand new F1 2019 career mode video. Season 2 so far, ups and downs, I would say, with qualifying and whatnot. But here we are, the mecca of all crown jewels. We are at the Monaco Grand Prix. As you guys can see, we are starting to fall a little bit behind on our upgrade pace with a couple of the other teams. But diving in, we could see that we do have two major aerodynamic upgrades coming for Canada. So hopefully that gives us a boost, like a severe boost that we need to get into the midfield pack. But we're going to dive right into qualifying.
Here we are at one of the most difficult circuits on the racing calendar. Welcome to Monaco for today's Formula One qualifying.
And it's that time for qualifying. My initially terrible favorite time of the race, I guess you'd say. No, I'm really struggling with this car. As you guys can see, I slam it into the wall. I do actually like this track, and I'm getting the hang of it. I mean, it's not too difficult. Once you get into a rhythm, you kind of put your head down and you go for it, but I'm way off the pace, as I can show you guys. We crossed the line. We are P2, though. I was very, very surprised about that, so I decided to let time run down. And that was a bit of a mistake. As you guys will see, I failed to qualify for Q2. Doing so, our teammate goes into P7. We are just on that brink, and we get ourselves eliminated from Q1. That was a stupid move.
A proper road race, and in the true meaning of the word. That was how Mr. Monaco, the late great Graham Hill, once described this iconic event. The cars we drive have come a long way in the intervening half-century, but still we race on those same public roads beside the Mediterranean Sea. There's no victory more coveted than that of the Monaco Grand Prix. The prestigious Circuit de Monaco then. It's not all that dissimilar today to the layout that made its debut almost a century ago. It's 2 miles and 19 corners through the streets of Monte Carlo, and although the average lap speed of around 93 miles per hour is the lowest of the season, the tiny margins for error make it the natural habitat of the safety car. With the Grand Prix nearly upon us, Anthony Davidson is by my side once again to offer his perspective. Now, let's kick off our conversation with Alexander Albon. Looks like they've got a tough race in store today, as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and starting alongside him P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Leclerc, Pierre Gasly, and Faber, Butler, Perez, Stroll, and Valtteri Bottas, Sainz, Hülkenberg, Kimi Raikkonen, and Ricciardo, Norris, Rose, Kevin Magnussen, and George Russell. Grosjean and Alexander Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
No heroics into Saint-Devote, please. We're in amongst the pack and just need to stay in one piece.
Oh, Jeff, we all know that famous saying you say constantly every time, but we actually are looking at a race strategy, guys, and we ultimately go for the softs onto, or actually the medium to the soft. But we're going to dive in, waiting for those 5 red lights to go at this Monaco Grand Prix, hoping to stay out of trouble. We are P15, so I'm just going to back off and let these guys battle it out ahead of us. Try to maintain P5 as we have Magnussen go through us. Russell gets through us. A good run, so we're going to have quite a little tight squeeze there through up on the hill. We're going to try to squeeze our way around Norris, be a little bit punchy, get those elbows out. And we dive onto the inside. You almost catch that barrier, but it looks like Russell and myself, Norris is altered to let me have that position. We're going to dive, almost make it in. We squeeze our teammate Kimi, and that was quite cheeky, but we actually back off and let him have that position. I didn't want to fight too much with Kimi. I thought that was a bit of a squeeze, an unnecessary squeeze, and a very uncrafty-like squeeze, I guess you would say. But we're going to follow Kimi through the tunnel section. One of the brilliant sections of this race. Very tight, very tight racetrack that is. Down to the hairpin and follow through. We're going to try to stay with Kimi as best as we can.
position.
We're going to try to maintain this position here, Jeff. I know you think that we're in a good position. We actually are, because we do have the medium set on as I exceed the track limits very strongly there, as you guys can tell. But we are in a good strategy. We are in the mediums, so a lot of the drivers in front of us are on the soft compound, so they're going to have to pit, and we can actually extend the life of these tires depending on how well we take care of them. So we could go very deep into this race and hold on to the car. So that was my plan, to try to get ahead of everybody as best as possible, and then maybe pit and come out ahead of a lot of the guys. But Kimi right here, we do have DRS on our teammate. We're going to go look for maybe a turn. He gets a really terrible exit out of that. We're going to go side by side up the hill. No, I actually decided against it and backed out of it, because that is dangerous. Although I will say, a little spoiler alert, I do go for it in the next few laps, being this lap actually. Following up through with DRS, he does have DRS on Ricciardo, so this could get pretty close. But we're going to try to get a better run out of this exit like like last lap actually. We do, so we're going to go side by side.
Too hard. It's causing your gearbox to take increased wear.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, will come into play significantly in this race. If Jeff is on the radio telling me about my gearbox is close to being damaged. And, you know, I don't know if anybody else in the YouTube community has had this happen. If you have, you see this video, please let me know, because it was the strangest thing I've ever felt. I have had gears leave me from, you know, gearbox wear, but towards the end of this video, you'll see what I'm on about. And I actually had nothing.
Mechanical issue means you've lost one of the gears. Say again, you have lost access to one of the gears.
So we actually have lost access to one of the gears, so it's already starting to affect our race. And here we have Kimi and Ricciardo about ready to dive in the pits. I was unaware. Actually tagged the back of Kimi's gearbox, so luckily I didn't get a warning.
Kimi in the pits.
Not now, Jeff. We do get ahead of Verstappen. He is pitted for the medium compound, so now we are ahead of one of the leaders. So this is kind of starting to play into our favor, to see if we can hold them up and dive for the pits and have a faster stint at the end. But never faulting the fact that I have to understand that my gearbox is damaged, because we have yellow flags, and this is sadly my teammate who is actually out of the Grand Prix. Kimi has had issues with his car and he's out. So I'm having issues. Kimi's already out.
The virtual safety car has been deployed. We need to keep a positive delta here. Slow down, maintain a positive delta.
I'm starting to worry about this race. As you guys can see, we're following on board with Kimi. Probably not the best camera angle thanks to Codemasters on this one. So there you can see he pops, I believe his engine is, it's gone kaput. And he is going to pull his car over to the side, and his Grand Prix is over, and our gearbox is really starting to fail, so that's playing into the back of my mind.
Drop your speed, our delta is too low and we risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately. VSC ending, we're going green. Maintain positive delta until the green flags.
So I'm going to maintain positive delta. It is back to green racing at Monaco Grand Prix with a somewhat gearbox that's about ready to blow up on me. So
don't forget, box this lap.
So we're gonna pull into the pits and box for the set of soft compounds, so we'll have the quickest set out on the track towards the end. But this is where it gets really interesting. I mean, I gotta say, we do dive into the pits. We're gonna show you guys the last few pits. We actually ended up causing Verstappen a bit of wing damage with him following us. I was trying to keep him behind us, so that was my fault. We actually picked up wing damage as well, so we're going to grab a new front wing and try to beat Verstappen out. This is where it gets really weird. We pull out right behind him. Going to exit the pit at the same time. I'm going to try to get myself around him. I believe he's stuck on the set of mediums as we've gone soft, so we're going to have a bit of a pace advantage over him. Follow him out through the pits, and that is our race strategy on pit-wise complete. We are good to go until the end of this Grand Prix. We're going to have the quickest set of tires. So this was my goal, to try to catch up to everybody that was ahead. Try to make for some brave maneuvers and get a few points out of this. We are up P15 where we started. Trying to get a little bit more out of this race. I know I really have to manage the gearbox. This track is probably the hardest track to manage a gearbox, because I mean, there's so many shifts that happen.
Gap to the car behind is 13.3 seconds.
Get a good run over Verstappen. We're going to look for the outside and try to hang it. We do set the quickest lap so far of this Grand Prix, and we make our way around Verstappen. That was pretty much the only move I actually overtook anybody in this race, besides overtaking them while they're in the pits. But now we come through the tunnel section. You see Sands right ahead of us. We're going to try to get around Sands. And this is one of the first times I actually really had trouble with the AI, causing some problems, and you'll see what I mean. I'm following Sands, and he actually makes a mistake, locks up, and we slide into him, causing more wing damage.
That front wing, it'll need replacing if it takes too much damage.
So now we have damaged wing again. So this, strategy I was trying to be on is starting to kind of become a nightmare to us. As you guys see, we locked up trying to avoid him as he locked up and chipped our wing off. I believe that was our end plate. So now we are stuck in P14 with a damaged wing. So we're going to get around Sands and say thank you very much for that. Thank you for the mistake causing us to have a broken wing. And I believe Verstappen has slammed into the back of us again. So, I mean, it's not going well for Verstappen. That's kind of my fault initially. And for myself, it's not going the way I was hoping for it as well. But Sands and Verstappen are battling out ahead of me. And this is the lap, ladies and gentlemen. Only so far to go. I was trying to catch up to the pack. I was actually catching him by a lot.
Okay, this is Jeff. Update on the car. The gearbox is damaged. Gearbox is damaged. You'll likely find gear changes slower.
And when he means slower, I mean he absolutely means slower. You cannot change the gear. As you guys can hear, there was nothing I could do. The gearbox was completely damaged. It wasn't going to fix itself. And at this point,
you're dropping a second a lap to the car behind. 1 second.
Dropping a second a lap per lap, and I'm just causing more and more problems for the rest of the components in the engine.
Keep managing your tires. Manage your tires.
He wants me to manage the tires, and I'm just at this point thinking, you know what? Kimi's out of the race. My gearbox is completely destroyed, and I can't shift. I can't do anything. These guys are just flying right past me. I decided to let Sands go as well, and that's when I ultimately made the decision to just decide to pull this car into the pits and pretty much retire, because there was nothing else I could do. I'm in P15, but that's just going to be our day done. As disappointing as it is, I didn't have an answer, so I was so close to the end. My strategy was working, but a long day cut short due to gearbox failure. As like I was saying, I never had that on the older games, so I mean this is kind of new to me. So I pulled into the pits. The crew works like they were supposed to work, but I've decided to retire the car, and that is our day over with at the Monaco Grand Prix.
Here's our winner, pulling their Ferrari into Parc Fermé. What a fantastic race it was. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on the track was today: speed. I know it sounds like an obvious thing to say, Crofty, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari do it again. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
Well, it's got to be Kevin Magnussen. He displayed exceptional skill out on the track today and wasn't afraid to fight his way through the pack.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. It was a tough race for our championship leaders, who lose ground at the top of the table. Another team that excelled today was Williams, who make further progress up the table. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
There you guys have it. Both Alfa Romeos have DNF from a race. I never thought that was actually going to happen in this game, but it's happened and it's here. So after this race, I was actually pretty discouraged and decided that I really needed to hunker down and take care of my components in this car because they are fragile. I didn't think they were that fragile. But we're going to dive into the interview.
Bad luck out there today. Let's talk about it. Lucas flew through the pack in that race. What's his secret?
Well, when you have a great team behind you, there is no need for secret techniques.
What's it like seeing your old F2 teammate up on the podium today?
I didn't see the podium, but to be honest, I wish I was up there with him.
That crash looked pretty serious. Can you walk me through what happened?
I didn't crash, Claire. I retired the car. Just so you know.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you guys so much for being on this journey with me so far. If you guys appreciated that video, hit the subscribe button. It helps me out so much. Wasn't the best race I was hoping for. We ultimately DNF'd. As you guys will see, my gearbox is only 84%. But I'm going to leave you off with that. Until the next video, I will catch you soon, and I appreciate it. See you soon.